Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going over pelvis. A lot of people, and myself included, sometimes have trouble with understanding what the pelvis is and where to find it. So I'm just going to be going over with you guys how to really just go about it. And usually the best way to really do it, I believe, is to just basically symbolize it as a box, because you can basically find nice perspective points with the body itself and kind of categorize that as a box. So let's get started on that. So how do I draw a box first of all? Well, if we're going to be doing a box without a grid, we just have to find out what direction it's pointing at. There are a couple directions. So one is when it comes to the pelvis, depending on the pose, of course. So one is facing forward, which is just a simple box, just a simple square. Maybe like a small hint of the back view, or the kind of top here. Then there is the facing down. Let's go for more one-point perspective in this. So this is more of a facing down because we see more of the top, meaning more of the abdominal area, and we see more of like the little bowl-shaped kind of bone dimple areas of the pelvis here. So if you want, you guys can go ahead and kind of put a triangle there, kind of to symbolize the pelvis and the pubic bone. And you can even put a center line just real quick, real fast. Let's see what else. Then we have a box facing up, which is simply a box that is obviously facing up. So what I mean by that is we can see the bottom of the box. And notice I'm not using any weird grids or anything like that. I'm simply just knowing what an upper view looks like of a box and then just simply doing that. So usually these views would kind of happen and you would kind of see more of an upper view. So what I mean by that is you see more of this lower area. One example would be like, maybe you're looking up at this person. Let's see, let me just draw a box here. Another good thing about separating the body in boxes is that you can kind of put the box in perspective and do all that. So anyways, let's say that this is the box here. Here is the halfway point of the pelvis. Here is the pelvis box and everything like that. So if I were to build this out, just kind of do that real fast. Let me go ahead and zoom in. So you would sort of see like the legs kind of pushing out more. Everything that's kind of coming towards you is a lot fatter and more thick. Everything that's kind of going away from you gets thinner and smaller. So let's say we have our breasts here. We have her hips kind of going outward, and then we have her abdominal area. And then here we have the adductors kind of facing towards us, but we're not really going to draw it like a front view. And then we have the sits bones, which is basically the buttock area. And then here we have the nether regions. So I have to find a better way to say it. The genitals, okay? Genitalia. So that is usually an upper view of a more like a, upward shot. Maybe she's kind of like looking up, so you can see her chin, or not her chin, like the bottom of her chin, and then her head kind of goes like that. So this is more of like a one point, more facing forward version of the pelvis. Now let's go ahead and go down and, kind of figure out some other kind of choices here. So let's see, there's another one that is more towards the side, which is more facing downward. So it's more like this. 3-finger gap, pelvis box, center line. Then there's one facing more downward. This is a standard, this is more downward. And more diagonal. This is when the pelvis, or when this person is leaning forward for something. Sorry, my box is kind of weird. So 3-finger gap, pelvis box. That's another one. And then here we have a kind of going upward shot. Same thing. Just facing diagonally. If you want to converge these, a little bit, I would prefer that. I'm just kind of making it a bit simpler and not more isometric for a simpler feel. So how do we figure out the landmarks for this? Well, it's actually pretty simple. When it comes to the front, for example, let me just do a front view first. So let's do a box. Divide it in half. Divide this in half. 3-finger gap. Pelvis box. And then rib cage. There. Very simple. We have these two little dimples here. They're called the iliac crest, which is kind of like the bowl area. So let me go ahead and I will send you guys images of examples. So I'm gonna actually make a note here. Reference images. Writing that down so I don't forget. So I'm going to be sending you guys, kind of like little pointers of what to look for. And one of these is the iliac crest, which are kind of like little bones that kind of stick out when you're kind of standing up. And the more overweight you are, or the more heavy you are, and the more plump you are, I had to say that 3 times for some reason. Anyways, the more you put on some weight, these will kind of disappear, and usually they kind of just become like flabs instead. I have that. I need to lose some weight. But anyways, and then when it comes to skinnier people, more bony people, these stick out really prominently. So if I were to draw a side view of this or a 3/4 view of this on a skinny person, rib cage, pelvis, this would kind of jut out a little bit. If you are a sculptor, you would need to take note of that. And so these would kind of stick out a little bit. And then therefore that kind of gives you a nice perspective view of the actual pelvis. So I hope that this is actually pretty helpful. It's helpful for me at least. So these are kind of like the iliac crest little dimples areas, or kind of like the pushing out, sticky outy bits that you would see. And let's go for the back view. How about that? So when it comes to the back view, the same thing goes. When it comes to the back view, you have your, just a simple box if you're looking straight from the back. And in this case, we're kind of going to go ahead and just draw the glutes. So we're going to have to draw the sacrum up here. And then let's draw the glutes, kind of just fit them in there. If you want, you can just draw in the muscle, which is just, if it's for a girl, since I'm going to be doing girl, it's smaller up at the front, at the top, and then gradually goes outward. When it comes to a guy, for example, it's actually more butterfly shaped. So let me go ahead and do that. Sacrum. So for the guys, it's actually more like 1, 2, like so. More bean shaped. And generally, that kind of results in a smaller and tighter looking butt. When it comes to girls, we have a more like pear shaped feel to it, to our bottoms, and that's just kind of like how our muscles are done. So it's kind of how it is. There. For the back, we can do the same thing. If we're looking more, let's say, top view of this, I'll draw both male and female for this. Let's do a top view, or kind of not the top view, upward facing box towards the left or the right, whichever the direction it is. Then we go ahead and put our center line. You can even put in a curved center line here. You can put the sacrum in, and the sacrum is a good, point, as I mentioned earlier. These are the 2 little dimples at the back. So unlike maybe it is the iliac crest dimples. Oh well. Anyways, you see the little dimples at the back, and then you kind of just understand that this is where it goes. So, and by using the triangle, you can kind of see the perspective. So if I'm gonna be doing girls bottom, we can go ahead and make this smaller, make this bigger towards the bottom. And I'll go over leg muscles later on, but basically this part is your tensor fascia and like. if I want to push her leg out more this way, I can do that. I can push this leg more out this way. And just remember that these legs and everything like that are kind of basically just cylinders. Now let's do the male version. So when it comes to the male, this way, it's of course going to look a little bit different. But you can see the structure are very, very similar because obviously we're human. It'd be weird if we didn't have these kind of features or differences. So anyways, here we have the sacrum. We kind of understand where the box is going. Then we have our top part of our gluteus maximus. And it kind of just does a nice butterfly shape. In fact, I would kind of spread this out just a little bit more. And I'll also put this forward. And this more backward. But yeah, that's basically how you would kind of construct a pelvis. So let's actually draw some poses that could help with making you guys understand better. Oh, I forgot to do side view. So side view is also really easy. Side view, obviously, the front is this way. I'm going to put in, oh, actually I'm not going to do that yet. So once again, we have our pelvis, our 3-finger gap. If you want, you can even go something like this and do something like this to kind of add in the shape to it, but you don't have to. I think Will Weston, when he does his pelvises, he kind of gives it a bit of a different shape. So let me go ahead and, well, it's actually not that different. It's more box-like. It's more like, this is how he would do it. So it's more like, so this is the left side here, this is the other side. We have the pelvis, which is the bowl area here. And then here we have the pubic bone that kind of caves in. And then here we have the femur that kind of goes at the edge here. And if you want to, you know, put in the body or put in the, not the body, put in the leg in area, stuff like that, then you basically put in the glutes on the sides. And those kind of end about here. And then we kind of stretch this out into more of a cylinder shape. And then we can take this leg out. So yeah, now let's go ahead and do a little bit of a more kind of, let's just draw another box here. So more of a kind of stretched back view. So this is more of the side view, by the way. So I have the pelvis here. Just map out my area. Here we have the rib cage, which kind of protrudes out a little bit, and therefore kind of creates this kind of ridge down here. So here we have a squish, and then here we have complex. Oh, sorry, this is complex and this is stretch. And then you can see the obliques kind of end around the pelvis area. So let me zoom in. Now for the buttock area, that's going to depend on where it's constricting. So let's say if the leg or the femur starts here around the bottom, this will constrict and this will go backwards. And notice how this kind of relaxes. We can have the other leg kind of moving more forward. That's just another cylinder. Here we have the arm. And so on and so forth. So it's just a lot simpler than you guys might think when it comes to the pelvis. So just know that the obliques is where the pelvis kind of starts. And of course, just go and keep following the, the box method, and pretty much that will be it. So I think that'll be it for this lecture. Let me know what you guys think. I will send some reference images and I will make some diagrams of how to find it. And let me know what you guys think. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.